Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Out of Context. Now, I know what you're thinking. Don't we usually hear this guy later on in the thing? Yes, typically that would be the case, but for some reason today, I was elected the person to bring us in. So, I am joined as always by the lovely Ash Majestic. And yep, she's just going to sit there and look at Twitter. And I am also joined by the beautiful, most beautiful Walker AC.
And that's what I appreciates
Wow.
about you. That's what I truly appreciates about you.
Yes, sir.
I,
Yes, sir.
I feel
Pitter
ripped
patter.
off by that intro.
You tried to steal my cat, okay? Anyway, today's topic is I have no clue. I just got thrown into this. So what's going on? What are we doing today?
Okay, well, gee, glad
You're
you
wrong.
asked. But see, I knew she was going to do that. I knew she was instantly going to do that. But before we get to topic going, Ashley Majestics, how are you these days?
Really good. Doing bueno. And going back, to be fair,
To be
fair.
who would not want to try to steal your cat?
Listen, okay, the list is growing by the day of people that are on my list. I'm gonna have to start getting more cameras, okay, so I can make sure that nobody is breaking into my apartment and trying to steal my son.
I just want you to know, if someone that wasn't me that took your child from you, I would be all Liam Neeson for you, and then I'll just keep it for myself.
Oh, there's a task force. I have like 15 people who would already back me with that, and I would be more than happy to take you in under that wing of reacquiring my son from whomever took him from me.
Yeah, I would reacquire him. Would I actually give him back to you? Probably not, because at the end of the day, my logic would be, you let this happen in the first place. You can't be trusted to have it back.
And
Now
then,
that,
and then I will pull a Mel Gibson, give me back my son, on that line.
Yes.
yes.
Like, no, suffer.
So,
And then when you did the intro, so people just, because like usually, obviously when I get introduced, I'm like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Things are cray cray, or whatever bullshit I usually say. It's just because right before we did this, we did a trial to see how Dakota would do the intro. So obviously I didn't say anything. So my mind was still in that mindset, was like, this is how he does the introduction. He introduces me, and then he immediately introduces Adrian. So I'm like, cool, he said my name, and now he's going to say Adrian. And there was that pause where it's like, oh yeah, I should have said something. That's the part where I say things.
I'm sorry. We should have deliberated more before I threw you into the fire right there. But we're here now.
It's okay. That's what makes this all organic, and I appreciate that.
is that
That's
is that what you truly appreciates about us?
I do. I appreciate it.
that's a big Texas size 10-4 right there.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So we're all here, and this is December the 13th. We have one more show before we wrap up the end of the year, and we'll dive right into a couple of things. The last show we did was pretty deep, but we're going to try to keep things fairly light because the out of context, now we're getting more and more deep and serious, so really have to get past that. So our topic is going to be really deep again. That's what she said. So what we're going to just take a dip on, and we'll go around the room for multiple segments here on the show, is I've been thinking about terminology, just phrases, new words that just coming into play. And I'm going to use I'm blaming it on my old age again. This is seemingly a common thing with most of my shows because as I get older, I'm not understanding certain things or just disagreeing with certain things. So we're going to just kind of go around the room. And we'll start with, terms like, simps or fatphobia or incels or just like pronouns and stuff like that. Now, the purpose of this exercise is not to be right or wrong. It's not about, oh my God, I don't believe in this, I'm right, or hey, this is what this is, I'm right. No, it's just an open forum about just opinions because obviously we're going to touch a nerve because this is what we do. So I'll go first and then we'll hit Ashley and Dakota and we'll just kind of go just back and forth. Not hit, that's pretty nasty.
I was about to say,
It's like, why do we gotta hit Ashley for? Holy shit!
Well, you're tough, you can take it. So,
That's what he said.
giggity.
So I heard of this word incel, and I did not know what it was for the longest time. I had to look it up. And basically, it means, in a King James Version, that someone who has a general dislike for women. And dislike for women about everything they stand for. And just generally speaking, misogynist. A general hatred towards women. So this word, incel, was created. And one of my former associates, who I don't associate with anymore, she called me an incel. And so I quickly looked it up. And I'm like, look, if you're going to insult me, at least know what the word means. So, because I'm not a misogynist. Obviously, I have a lot of female friends, and I try to understand people as life goes on. So I'll bounce it to you, Ashley. Have you heard of the word incel? Have you heard of anybody being called an incel? And what are your actual thoughts on that particular word?
I actually have not heard of it before up until, I mean, it sounds familiar. I've probably seen it mentioned in a TikTok or something, but it's not a term I actually recognize. Like, part of me is like trying to avoid going to Google to look up these terms actually, because I'm like, yeah, incel, that's a new one for me. I'm thinking incel like Intel, like someone on the, like that works for the man.
I've got that incel core i9 processor.
Yeah, stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of a newer term for me.
Well, when I got called that, at first, my reaction was, oh, thanks, that's pretty cool. Never been called an incel before. It must be something new. And then I read it. I'm like, really? That's what you're going? Okay, sure. So.
Can I share something really quick?
Sure.
So I remember, so speaking of calling someone and you don't know what the meaning of it is, so it reminds me from when I was a child. Granted, I'm like under 10 years old. And I had first heard the word pervert, and I didn't know what it meant. So I kept calling my brother that. And my brother's old enough to know what that means. And he kept telling my parents, like, tell her to quit calling me that. And I would call him, so I'm like, I don't know what it means, but apparently he hates it, so that's why I'm going to keep doing it. Which is where I am today. You show me weakness, I will pounce on that. And my parents would never explain to me what it means, because obviously my age. And they're like, it's just a really bad word. You don't want to call your brother. So I continued to call him that for like a good little while. So I think about that a lot. I was like, hey, remember when I used to call you pervert? And he's like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, all right, it's cool, good times.
So Ashley, I'll go ahead and I'll have you look up that word, and I'll bounce it over to Dakota here. What are your thoughts on that?
So I took the literal translation of it. I looked it up, and it does mean, misogynistic tendencies, but it's actually a combination word. So the in is involuntary, and the cell is celibate. So involuntary celibacy, which in the words of the kids nowadays basically means you get no bitches. Because of the tendencies that you have, like you aggressively listen to the Andrew Tate podcast and you love Joe Rogan, things like that. But I personally have never been called an incel. I don't try and piss people off, but somehow I still do, just by being my large, delicious self. But I think the word is appropriate in some aspects, because I've looked at people before and I know them, and that word is extremely suitable to them because they are some of the most misogynistic people on the planet, and they do not deserve to have the time or attention that a woman should give them, just because they don't see them as people. They objectify them. They just think that they're there to do their bidding, and that's it.
Okay. So now Ashley had a chance to look it up. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
No, honestly, what like Dakota just talked about, it's like kind of like ditto.
No, that's okay. We're going to kind of rapid fire some of these, and then we'll get into the goofy stuff. Next one, which I've never heard of before, is fatphobia. I've never heard of fatphobia. And so, looking up the Google dictionary here, it's a weight bias, sometimes being called fatphobia, or a weight stigma, describes the negative attitudes and stereotypes surrounding attached to a larger bodies. Further, fatphobia is an abnormal and irrational fear of being fat or being around fat people. I've never heard of this. And I've heard, YouTube and TikTok and Twitter, all this fun stuff. If you do not prefer to like a larger person or someone with weight on them, you're fat phobic. And I kind of thought about that for a second. I'm like, so if that's the case, then if you don't like skinny people, are you skinny phobic? If you serve me pizza with pineapples and I don't prefer it, am I pizza pineapple phobic? Just made up terms like that people are taking seriously and creating new things just as an excuse. It just kind of bothers me a little bit because there's really no such thing as fat phobic. And it's an insult to overweight people. It's an insult. If you don't, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Because, if you don't prefer something, why should you be shamed for it? Hey, Adrian, nothing personal. I don't date black guys. Okay, that's your preference. That's cool. Or, hey, Dakota, you got a sexy beard and long hair. Not really my thing. Ashley, you're sarcastic as all hell. I don't prefer that. But in saying that, you can't shame me for having a preference. I can't shame Dakota for having a preference. I can't shame you, Ashley, for having a preference. So to slap a term like that on it, to me, that doesn't really make any sense. Now, am I wrong for saying that? Am I wrong for thinking that?
No, I actually in agreement with you. Like, long as people aren't insulting about it, being the term fat phobic, I've heard that. It's okay. You're just not sexually attracted to that person. That's okay. So it's kind of like saying, yeah, I'm not interested in dating women, so now I'm homophobic. No, I just don't want to date a woman. I just like boobs, all that stuff. It's good. They look great, but I just don't feel sexually turned on by it. But it's one thing if it's oh no, God, women are just so fucking disgusting. Their boobs, God, I couldn't stand the idea. That's a whole different department. If you describe your preference in that way, what you don't like you're clearly negatively insulting someone that's fat. That's a different skin color. You're just no, I would never date someone that is it's white, or I would never date someone that's Canadian. When you have it in that perspective, yeah, that can kind of come off insulting. You don't need to take it that far. But it's just simply saying no, I'm just not interested in that type, and that's fine. For me, specifically, my type of guy is tan, beard, and a nice accent, which goes in hand in hand with either Hispanic men or Arab men, hence who I'm married to. That has always been my type. I'm a white girl, and a lot of white dudes just don't do it for me. It's very rare I look at a white dude, I'm yeah, that's my stuff. They have to very much fit the criteria for me to be oh yeah, I find that attractive, and that's okay. I don't hate white guys. That would kind of be very weird, but that's just my preference. I've dated across the board, and it's fine, but those are just my preferences. That's what I like. That's what I'm into. The person themselves can always change that mindset, but it goes back to being something phobic just because you don't find it sexualizing. Okay, that's it. So you should date this person, a person that just doesn't find someone that has a good amount of weight on them. They're fat, they're chubby. I'm a thick person. If someone looks at me and they're yeah, I would not want to have sex with her because I just don't see that as something appealing to me. Okay. Damn, ouch, it hurts. But at the same time, I'm not oh, you just hate fat people. It's no. So what? You should have sex with me even though you don't want to just because the society's oh, you're fat phobic if you don't have sex with her now. It's fucking stupid. So I see videos all the time when someone's no, it's a black guy. It's actually I don't date black women. They're just not my type. Or it's someone's I prefer Asian men or something, and then you get all these hate comments. Damn. Again, if you're saying it negatively, and you're disgusted by the idea, that's a whole other different discussion. You're just hey, I just don't find that appealing to me sexually. okay, that is fine.
And Dakota, your thoughts?
I agree. I agree with Ash. I feel like when people don't get their way, like when somebody they like doesn't like them back, they kind of go into fight or flight mode. So they will throw these terms at the person to try and guilt them into wanting to try and start a relationship. Now, that isn't necessarily true, but from what I've seen, it's usually people that they've either tried to make romantic or sexual advances towards get these terms fatphobic, racist, transphobic. All of these things get thrown at people who rejected the advances of the other person.
Gotcha.
Sorry, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead, please finish your thought.
And it's not a one size fits all thing. Like Ash was saying, if they say it in a negative connotation, like, oh, absolutely never, don't like them, it's if they're downright mean about it, then perhaps you have a case. But as for the word fatphobic, it doesn't really line up with the rest of the words that have to do with the phobia, because it's not like they're afraid of me, or people who are of a larger stature. It's more so that it's just not within their preference. And if you have a problem with somebody's preferences, then maybe sit down and talk with them. Figure out why they have the preference, or why they only go for a certain type of person. Just get to know somebody, and then maybe you can come to a common ground. You don't have to throw words at them that not even you truly understand.
So,
And the thing is that sometimes you don't even know the reason why. Like I couldn't explain to you why I'm specifically interested in these guys or why I'm not. It is what it is. Um, and that also goes into there's people that I don't remember what the term is for it, but there's people, I think it's called pansexual, that they're just interested in the personality. It doesn't matter what they look like, their gender, their physical attributes, like that, and that that's a thing too. It's like, all right, you find some people attractive based off of their personality, and that's a-okay with me. That's cool. Um, like another thing for me, like something I know that I just am not attracted to is someone that's shorter than me. Like the guy shorter than me, I don't like that. Um, he can be like the hottest dude ever, but if he's shorter than me, I don't like it. For me, because I like the more alpha type guy. I like that, and I'm also a very insecure person. So for a guy that I want to have that dominant nature over me to obviously an extent, uh, and they're shorter than me, and I just can't take that seriously. So when a guy's shorter than me, it's like it's just nothing but dryness down there. It is like just dust, and I can't. That's as much as I can explain it. Like I'm not for short kings. Go them. A lot of them like can do really well and stuff, but it's just not my type, and that's okay.
You've never wanted a short guy to go up on you, Ash?
Nope.
so do
Nope.
you?
I just
Go ahead, finish that thought.
no. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I know you were trying to say something, and I immediately butt in. So go ahead.
No, it's okay. Now about the pronouns, and we'll get to that in a second. So to put a capper on this particular thing, do you think it's more ego versus people acknowledging what Dakota said, acknowledging preference? Do you think it's more of their ego getting bruised, versus them saying, okay, you don't like this particular thing, that's fine. I'm going to just leave it be and go on about my day. Their ego is bruised, so I'm going to shame you and I'm going to label you, because you don't prefer my particular type or you don't prefer this particular type.
I think it's a combination. It could be both. It could be one or the other. I think it all depends on the person. I don't think it's exactly black and white when it comes to that. I think that's a very gray area. There's people that have that pride and they take things like over the top. Like for me, I am not considered model type. I like I have good features about me, but then I also I understand I don't like how I'm not happy with how I look either. So I don't see myself as being the most attractive person in most people's eyes. So if someone is just like, ew, no, I just would not do that, or no thanks, she's just not my type. Would it sting a little? Yeah, I think with a lot of people, there's always gonna be that little part of you that it's gonna sting just a little bit. It just depends on how far you want to take it. Now I can get aggressive and I can be like, oh fuck you, like I know I'm beautiful, like I can take it that far and I can be aggressive and call them fat phobic or whatever because my feelings got hurt. But at the end of the day, my feelings are hurt and that's it. But again, the person wasn't flat out disrespectful and disgusting to me about it. They were just like, you're just not my type, and I'm like, solid.
Well, I mean, we're mainly focused on, I mean, like generalities. People who do focus on that particular branding of, of words like that. And I'll go to Dakota for your opinion, and we'll bounce on to the next one.
Like Ash said, I feel like it's a very person to person basis. It's not a one size fits all. So if you really really like somebody and then they just turn you down because of your appearance, then that says something more about them than it. Like if you're just meeting somebody, or like internet dating is such a crapshoot nowadays because you don't know what people actually look like, but you actually really like the person. The vanity within you overtaking that is what causes people to lash out sometimes. Like 10 out of 10 girl, meets a guy who's like a 3 out of 10, but really likes his personality and says, no, just because you're 2 inches shorter than me, you're slightly balding, and you weigh 280 pounds, I'm not going to date you. I could see, and they had great chemistry. I could see why he would be angry and throw terms like that out. But if somebody was just like, we didn't really hit it off, it's not for me, and then somebody throws stuff out like that, then it's not the same. It's very situational.
Good. Okay. Once again, the generalities. Yes. Yes. You there in the back. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Awesome. So it goes back to don't like the whole where people like to use this term a lot, like and throw it back in the face. Oh, don't judge a book by its cover. That goes more into like judging somebody. Like that goes off of like to me that goes more off of an assumption. Like you look at a book, I see how the cover looks. Like oh, this must be a bad book because the art is horrible or it's boring. That's where you look at somebody and you profile them and stereotype them. That's why I think about the whole don't judge a book by its cover. But you if you're going to use those terms, it's like, or you're going to use that phrase, okay, like listen, the book cover might look cool, it might look great, but at the end of the day, it's a sci-fi book. Like I don't want it. I don't want to read sci-fi. I don't want to read nonfiction. It still comes down to a preference. Like the book cover can look great or not great all day, but knowing the genre of it, it just doesn't interest me. So when people they use that quote, don't judge a book by its cover, you never know. That could be the love of your life. They just happen to be a little heavy. You don't know that. Like, okay, but you shouldn't be forced to be with someone just so people don't say negative things about you. Because then that's hurting the other person. It just turns into a domino effect. So so I hate when people throw that term out there. Don't judge a book by its cover when it comes to preferences in that way. Because to me, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and it's pretty much all about reality. I mean, yes, like you said, we can say that all day long. I mean, that term is out there for a reason. But once again, reality overrules that. So yes, I can look at someone and look at their outer appearance and be interested in them instantly. Or I can look at their appearance and just not be interested. I mean, just to piggyback off what Ashley said, you can hear the give them a shot, give them a chance. They're a great person, but once again, you have your preference, and you really shouldn't be shamed for that. So this is why I have issue with the term fatphobic and fatphobia. To me, it's a made-up word. It doesn't make any sense, and it really doesn't hold any water because there's so many things you could branch off of that not too many people really think about. So that takes care of that little nugget. So next one, Gonzo style, next one. And I'll throw it out there and I'll throw it to Dakota. I'll throw it to Ashley and then I will speak on it. Because this one, to me, once again, this is kind of a touchy one, but once again, I'm speaking in generalities. The new thing that came out is pronouns. I'll hold off on it. So I'll throw it to Dakota first. What is your opinions, about pronouns, about people renaming themselves and such?
So I actually have a lot of people who are either actively transitioned, who are friends, who have become close friends of mine, who are either actively transitioning or have already transitioned. And me personally, I think that it's as a point of respect. If you truly care about somebody, you'll call them whatever they want. You'll call them whatever they want. Then the same thing could be said for nicknames and everything else. But the pronouns specifically, it has a great deal to do with the amount of respect you carry for that person. If you have no respect for them, then you're not going to call them by their new name. You're going to call them by their dead name or their old pronouns. But if you truly have respect for somebody and you want to see them grow as a person, I think that, showing respect to them, their pronouns, the new name that they've chosen is a very good thing, because people who are transitioning, statistically speaking, are significantly more depressed than people who haven't transitioned or people who are cisgendered. It's just, and depression is on the rise as it is. So if a group of people just decide, hey, I don't want to call you that because it's uncomfortable for me, then it's the amount of strain that must have on a person. I can't imagine, because you feel wholeheartedly like you are this person. You are this gender, and you're getting gender reaffirming surgeries. You've legally changed your name, and there are people who just will not accept that. It's got to be awful. I can't imagine that. But for me personally, I feel like pronouns, as long as you're using them the way they're meant to be used, are perfectly acceptable.
Okay, Ashley?
So, for me, I very much agree with Dakota. I don't have as many friends that, like, I know, like, a couple people that I went to school with that transitioned. I personally have a friend that has always preferred me a they, them, but recently is going back to say she, her, just because of how Florida, the governor, and all these issues are coming to light. And even for me now, I still want to say they, because I'm so used to it. Even though because she has a newborn and she's like afraid like things can get used against her, and like depending on how far these laws continue to go. But so it's not something I'm used to, because I'm not around many people that have done that. But for me, it's at the end of the day, it's listen, that's what your preference is, by all means. But like, so when I found out that my friend, like when they finally told me that they identify as they, them, I'm thinking, okay, like, just please understand, like, I don't really have much experience in this. Like, there's been times I'm going to mess up, especially because where we work, customers or anything like refer to you as a she, her. So, and they're like, yeah, I'm okay with it. You're not gonna be perfect. And I just would say Lacey. Oh shit. Well, there we go, Lacey. I don't think she listens to this anyway. But it's like, say Lacey, and instead of saying they, them, because it would help practice me to do that. And to where now it's like I still refer to them as they, them, and but I'm trying to say she, her around everyone that's not close friends of them. And so it's a little confusing, but it's okay, because again, because it's me showing that respect. That's what you like to be called. I will refer to you as that. Like if I tell people to call me like Ash, because a lot of close friends of mine will say Ash instead of Ashley, and I'm okay with that because I've grown up with that. So when someone just says, like, I can just tell someone, hey, please just refer to me as Ashley. I don't like the nickname Ash. Like, I would ask people to respect that. Like they'll think, oh, it's just a nickname. There's no harm in it. Okay, but I don't like that. That bothers me to an extent. And not to compare that to someone's with their gender and their identity, but that's just the best example I can throw out there for myself. But it comes to a whole other thing where you're making it people's problem. It's like if I look at someone and they look feminine presenting, like to me they look like the stereotypical female. I'm going to say she, her. And then they get pissy with me. It's like, I am not a she, I'm a they. Or I'm like, okay, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I don't like it when someone gets pissy when clearly they're presenting a certain image and someone, yeah, there are going to be people that are assuming. The pronouns have only really been changing the last handful of years, or at least become more mainstream. And so it's like now a lot of people have adapted to that. We weren't raised thinking anyone was like more than a she or a he, and that was it. Like that's for me. But it's not like saying like, oh, because my generation, I won't. No, I don't. Again, I don't care. As long as you give me the same courtesy back, like you understand that I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm at least going to try for you. And again, you don't just get pissy with someone just because they make a mistake or it's a complete stranger. So of course they don't know your backstory, and then you get pissy with them like, how dare you assume my gender? Like, dude, I don't fucking know. So when people are like, oh, everyone should just be referred to as they, thems, and its until they actually know, or they tell them this is how I present. I think that's extending it. That's like, hey, my name is Ashley. I'm a she, her. I just don't do that. People can do that if they want, but I don't want to introduce myself that way. I'm okay with people assuming who I am. But again, it goes back to preference. Whatever floats your boat, just as long as you're not being a dick about it.
And I can agree with the both of you because both of you guys make solid points. Now, for you, Dakota, taking out the person or persons that's transitioning, I take that out. I'm taking that part out because obviously, I am not going to be so narcissistic just to assume anything. If they're transitioning and whatever they wish to be called out of respect, of course I'm going to do that. I may not know you, but if you come to me and say, hey, this is what's going on, that's no problem whatsoever. Just a brief little story. I went somewhere with a friend of mine a while ago and went to the store and they had a pin on them, just a small little pin that says they. And the person next to me, they're like, oh, what does that say? Person behind the counter said, oh, they. And she's like, oh, that's really cool. That's so cool. And I didn't get it because once again, at my age and my experience, just to piggyback on what Ashley said, this is something that's been more introduced recently. So, I'm like, okay. And we went outside and I pulled her aside and I'm like, okay, what was that all about? Oh, well, that's a they. And I'm like, okay, what's that? What do you mean? It's, it's a she. She goes, no. She identifies as they. And with all due respects to whomever chooses to name themselves, to me, it turned out like a comedy skit, like who's on first. Because I'm like, okay, it's a she. No, it's a they. So me being comical, I'm like, okay, well, how does that work? How does one describe himself as a they? And, she went on a roundabout around her elbows to her wrist to try to explain to me that. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know that person, so it is what it is. And so if people choose to call themselves whatever they wish to identify as whatever they wish to, a furry, a kitten, a rock, whatever, that's perfectly fine. But just like Ashley said, as long as you're not aggressive about it, which unfortunately it's happened to me. A young lady came into my place of establishment and, I said, good morning, ma'am, how are you? And the person lost her ever-loving mind on me. Said, how dare you, misgender me? And I kind of tilted my head to the side. I'm like, okay. Because I wasn't going to apologize because, once again, like we talked about before, everyone is visual. You see what's in front of you. You call what's in front of you. And she's like, well, I'm a they, them. And I'm like, okay, are there more than one of you? How many personalities do you have? And that went over like a fart in church, as you would expect. And then she proceeded to lecture me about the pronouns. And, I kind of zoned out after 3 minutes. And I'm like, okay, well, number one, I call people as I see. And that's not fair for you to instantly jump on me for calling you what I see. If I come into a store and I'm a 6 foot black man, if you say, "Good morning, sir, how are you?" and I lash into you saying I identify as a tree, how dare you? Yes, you can look at me like, I'm 3 shades retarded. But in saying that, as long as people are nice about it, I will respect and call you whatever you want me to. But I'm just not too keen on being attacked or shamed for calling things as I see. Because in my eye, there are two genders, male and female. When you pass away, Dakota, for example, and they examine your body, they see your bone structure. You're a man. When Ashley passes away and they look at her bone structure, they're going to see she's a woman. And this is what I identify the human race is. But once again, not to backtrack or to flip-flop, if someone I know says, "Hey, I identify as tree," I'm going to go, "Okay, I'll call you tree. I won't call you Mr. Tree or Mrs. Tree. I will call you tree." That is what it is. My opinion is that as much as I don't understand about pronouns, I'm not going to discount it. I'm not going to make fun of it. But I still hold steady to the fact of I keep things simple, which life should be. Male, female, black, white, green, yellow, stuff like that. I really can fall in between the cracks because where does this stop? How deep does it go? And, how much shame will you put on me for not recognizing whatever you label yourself as? Long dramatic pause, everyone.
Well, I didn't want to cut in if you weren't finished. So no, I agree with you. To an extent, because I see that argument. People it's oh, well, can you identify yourself as a tree, yes, this, that, or there's the ones where I see that people completely identify as a whole different race, and that's where it kind of gets messy because I don't really get involved with those debates because to me, at the end of the day, for me, because clearly I know that I'm a female. I know I identify as a female. My birth certificate, and I have no problems about that. So when someone, when they're born a certain gender, and they're like, I no longer want to be this because I don't feel like it, I don't believe I am, of course I don't understand that because I am secure with knowing who I am in that aspect. So I don't understand it, but that's okay. I just need to respect it as long as the person is respectful towards me. But again, someone, like the example, I'm born female, and tomorrow I'm going to wake up I don't feel like a female anymore. I'd rather be a man. And all this stuff, and I'm going to ask my friends to respect it. I would hope that's going to happen. But then I turn around tomorrow and I say, hey, I no longer want to identify as a white woman. I want to be Filipino now. And people can put that same argument. It's oh, well, you don't look Filipino. Now you're culture stealing. And that goes, it's it's the same tree, but a different branch. But it's kind of can be used as the same argument. Because again, you look a certain way, but you have a feeling of that's not who you are. So you should identify as something else because that's what you feel comfortable as and that's what you want to be. So to me, I feel that it's the original domino effect towards gender, and then it's turning because I see videos of people there's women that are white and they tan themselves so dark and they change their whole look and their style to pretend they're a black woman. And so again, you're opening a can of worms to this whole other thing, and it's a messy debate where there's people that's I want to be a dog, I want to live as a dog, and to me it keeps going down a rabbit hole of what just doesn't make fucking sense to me. But so to me, I'm almost finished. To me, it's it doesn't make sense to me. But at the end of the day, are you good to yourself? Are you good to other people? Cool. Be prepared for the repercussions, especially if you're trying to pull off being a different race, especially if you're a white person for trying to be black. That's a very touchy subject nowadays as well. You have to be aware of not everyone's going to be on the same ship as you. You have to be aware that you're going to take grief. Not everyone's going to be accepting, because the world is never going to be 100% on the same line of everything else. So I will respect you to the best that I can, If I just simply don't agree, and I'm like, this is too weird for me at this point, I will just peace out. I'm not going to shame you. I'm not going to do like I'm like listen. I this just isn't. I can't do this, and respectfully walk away. So.
I don't know. And like I said, just like I mentioned before, I'm not picking on anyone who chooses to live their life however they want to. But once again, where does it stop? Because here's a little experiment, just to poke at Ashley for a second. Someone close to her, changed her pronouns, and it's respectable. Now identify as a she, her. Okay, that's fine. Another person who was a woman may go back to, I want to be a she, he. And then everybody's okay. The room is okay. The room is okay, fine, I can respect that. Everyone has a straight look and understanding. But then you have somebody to come in who says, okay, I identify as a kitten. Will you still have that straight face? Will you kind of crack a smile a little bit and think to yourself,
meow, bitch.
Yeah, or you think to yourself, okay, well, kind of didn't make any sense, but I respect it. It's okay. Another person walks into the room. Hey, my name is Jim. I'm not Jim anymore. I identify as a dog. The smile may get bigger, and the murmurs may start. But then you go, okay, I understand, Jim. This is what you want to be. You're a grown adult. It is what it is. Then finally, another person comes in. I identify as a flat, as a flat brush. And then the looks really start. How far does it go? Like Ashley said, how far does it go? How much can we go, okay, I get it. And then somebody throws their hands in the air and go, male or female, pick one. You want to be a dog? Okay, be a dog. Whatever. But now I'm going to treat you like a dog. I'm going to smack you on the nose when you pee on the carpet. If you identify as a cat, here's a cat box. Go outside. Just where does the line start? And of course, we're going to get a whole lot of, people in a snit over it because, people think we're poking fun at it, but we're not. We just want to know sometimes where the line is going to be. And due to my old age, some things I don't understand, but, do what you want to with your sheep. Leave me and my sheep alone. And finally, the last and final serious topic, then we'll go back into the dick and fart jokes. The word simp. Dakota, what do you think of the word simp?
All right. So I've been both dreading and waiting for this word because
I'm saying.
Yeah, right? Because it's such a loaded word because it gets thrown around so much at people who, and again, this kind of all is like a revolving door of stuff going back to it. Okay, people get called simps primarily when they subscribe to, literally subscribe to somebody's OnlyFans. They pay them to view them. That's where I've taken it from. That's how I got how I view a simp is somebody who just pays for the time and attention from a woman and never actually gets anything out of it. Somebody who just okay, look, I'm not saying all incels are simps. But every simp I've ever met has been an incel.
Ashley?
So that simp is a term I'm used to. I guess I haven't developed to being that age where it's like, oh, I don't know what this means. I don't understand it. I don't want to use it. I throw it around a lot. It's like I simp hard. Okay, keep going. I simp hard. It's the whole, I guess it's like crush, obsessive. Like it's just a new term of the combo of them. Like you see like a really attractive person or like a celebrity, like, man, I simp for them. Like I am just a simp. And I don't know how it started. I don't know where it came from, but just like most people, it's something I saw on the internet and I thought it was cool. So it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those terms where I'm like, I'm good. I don't see an issue with it because again, I use it so much. I didn't understand the origination of it when it first came out, but it's just been thrown out so much that I use it myself because I, in fact, am a simp for some. And but I still get surprised. There was a term that my niece used a while back, and she's like, "Oh, that slaps." I'm like, "The fuck does that mean?" She's like, "That slaps." I was like, "God damn it, I am getting to that. I am getting to that point. I fucking hate this." I was like, "Can you please explain to me what that slaps means?" And I hated saying that. And she's like, basically, it's like saying that's cool, that's awesome. And I'm like, God damn it. And I tried so hard to, and I didn't say it, but in my head, I'm like, why can't you say it's cool and awesome then? So, like, I'm understanding that I am getting to that point in my life where it's like, yeah, there's new terms. I can't keep up with everything. I'm accepting it. Do I go run to Google when I see a new term being said on TikTok? Yes, I do. 30 years old, all right? It's going to keep getting worse. It's not going to stop. There's going to be new terms every other month. We're about to hit 2024. We're going to get new shit next year. So it just come with me. Deal with it. It is what it is.
Well, before I get to the word simp, my son introduced me to the word cap a couple of years ago.
Oh my God, cap.
And I told him something, and he looks at me, goes, cap, and walks away. I'm like, where is it? Son, I didn't get you a cap. And he kind of ignored me. We talk about something else, like, Dad, that's cap. I'm like, son, where's your hat? What are you talking about? And he starts laughing. He's like, Dad, you don't know what cap is? I'm like, son, I'm blah, blah, blah years old. I'm that guy now. So he told me that cap, for you millennials out there, means a lie. I'm like, son, just say lie. If you think I'm a liar, just say lie. I'll hit you really, really hard. But no, just call me a liar. It's okay. But yes, cap. I'm like, okay, so that is what it is. So, for those of you out there who are our age, don't know what simp is, in the Google dictionary, it's an internet slang term describing someone who shows excessive sympathy and attention towards another person, typically someone who does not reciprocate the same feelings in pursuit of affection or a sexual relationship. So, just like Dakota said, say for example, a guy, or even a female, a guy just pours out his money on OnlyFans looking for attention that's not reciprocated. Or I'm chasing a female and I'm taking her out to dinner, buying her gifts, paying her bills, doing whatever just to get that reciprocation back, and it's not there. But instead of me getting the hint and using critical thinking, I keep on going thinking that buying her affection is going to equate to a relationship. That's a simp. That's what a simp is. And so I think when I hear that term, you start to self-reflect. You're like, okay, was I ever a simp in my day? Was I ever? Oh, yes, I was. Every guy can say, yeah, I was that simp. Ooh, my God. You know, so that term really hits that term really hits a bit. So, and like I said, once again, new words, new terminology, and simp is a derogatory term. And I heard another phrase as I'm burying through the YouTube hole that there will always be a group of simps. Always. No matter what. For every strong man, there will be 50 simps waiting. You know, to do the job, you know, that you won't do. And so I kind of find that funny. Now we're like, okay, the new terms are here. We have to get used to it and such a thing. And talking about OnlyFans, I won't go off on my OnlyFans rant because Ashley's heard it 1,000,001 times. I'm not going to rant about that. If you ever heard my rant, Dakota, go back to the old episodes because Ashley does not like my rant.
Go for it. Live Moss, man.
Dakota, before I rant, what are your thoughts on OnlyFans?
Oh boy, so it's a loaded argument in my opinion. I personally feel like, depending on how it's done, if it's done tastefully, there's no real tasteful way to do it. Actually, now that I say that, I feel like a dumbass. I give women a lot of credit, and even men who have the balls or the ovaries to put themselves out there for the whole world to see. Literally literally dick out. It's, and so you think about your family. You really don't think about your family when you're doing something like this, okay? You're just out there. You have literally put everything in. You're showing your butthole. You're doing whatever. It's nuts. It's nuts, but I have some level of respect. The thing I hate, though, is the people who try and sell me on it.
Okay. So this is my quick rant, and then we'll talk about some silly stuff and close out the show. There are very few things in this world I don't like. You know, with age comes wisdom. And the less you say, the less you say definitely makes a difference. And Ashley is just bursting at the seams, ready to say something.
No, it's not that. Trust me, it's not that.
I can put my rant on hold and hand it over.
No, rant away. Rant away.
See, this is going to get me into a lot of trouble. So here we go, folks. Buckle up. Sit by the campfire. Uncle Adrian has things to say. OnlyFans. I do not like OnlyFans. No. I retract that statement. The OnlyFans creator is making money hand over fist. I don't like people who do OnlyFans. I know some people who do OnlyFans, and it is what it is. My personal belief, not that I feel, but I believe, is fast money with slow problems. Is people who take the easy way out. Because I've spoken to people who've done OnlyFans, and they've sold me on the idea of, it's not just pictures of my butthole. No, it takes creative. It takes lighting. It takes architect. It takes everything to create the perfect shape of my butthole. So I'm like, okay, if that's the case, take all that intelligence and put it towards something productive that will build your money instead of getting the bag quickly. It's all about self-respect. It's all it's all about how you see yourself. Yes, if you have the body and you want to flaunt it to millions and millions of people, make all that money, that's fine. But when you're 30, 40, 50, what do you have to show for yourself? And then what happens if you get into a relationship and he or she finds out you have an OnlyFans? Do you really want to date a sex worker? Do you really want to work hard getting to know that person, getting the courage to introduce yourself as a man, for example, getting past, hi, how are you? Getting past taking you out on a date, getting past meeting the family, maybe building a relationship, getting a ring, going to the wedding, and you're doing all this time and resources, whereas Jim Bob down the street pays $5 a month to see your brand new wife's butthole, where you put in all that work and effort just for that. Ashley, you're feverishly waving your hand. I'll put my rant on pause.
You're already past it. Like, you're talking about like how it takes all this work and creativity and stuff to take the perfect picture of a butthole. Coming from a thick and chunky person trying to send sexy photos, you have to put in the work to make it look good. All right? That was my response to that.
Gotcha. And to finally put a capper on it, and I'll hand it over to Dakota here. It's just that I can say generally speaking, not everybody, but most men don't want to date sex workers because it's all about the reputation. It's all about bringing the person that you love, that you worked really hard for, around your family. And then someone in your family goes, wait a second, I think I know her butthole. Wait, I seen your wife naked. Stuff like that, and only pay $5 a month for it. It's a legacy you leave behind. It's your kids may see it, or your coworkers may see it.
Timmy, I was on the internet yesterday and I saw your mom's boobs and butthole.
Yes, and and once again, as I put a capper on it, it's all about accountability, and it's all about, you have so much more to offer yourself than just showing your body for a quick buck. That's called prostitution in my eyes, But once again, that's just me. You know, I like to have value and respect in people. And to me, dating a sex worker turns off a lot of guys. You know, I mean, just like, you know, the old phrase as we were kids, oh, she's so hot, that porn star is so hot, but would you really marry a porn star? I mean, think about it. Would you really marry a porn star? Because what could you really do to them on your wedding night that has been done to them already, besides hitting them in the head with a brick? And that, my friends, is a mic drop. Thank you. Send all your hate mail to the Walker AC Experience. Dakota?
Okay.
God damn, how do I follow that up? I can't. Shit. As far as new terminology goes, there is one word that I use unironically, and I started using it ironically, but now it's just become part of my my vocabulary. It is bussin'.
What is that?
Oh, yes. Explain to him.
Okay.
Busted.
So, for example, you're currently drinking water. Would you say you enjoy the water that you're drinking?
Yes, it's how I live.
Exactly.
It's true.
And or yeah, exactly. It's referring to you that you like something. There probably is a definition for it, but as I've come to understand it, it is for when you truly enjoy something, like slaps. It's the same thing as that slaps. It's the same thing. It is the same thing as that slaps. Oh man, this macaroni and cheese is bussin'. And then people will throw different amounts of sauce on it. Like this bussin'. Like they'll just throw things at it, and it's such a gratifying word to say for when you like something.
Okay. So what I did was, I'm never mind. I'm not gonna sound like an old man and try to use that word. No, I'm not gonna do that. And my final question to you guys before we wrap up, let's talk about something silly. I'll start with Ashley. What is your favorite Christmas song, and what's your worst Christmas song?
I'm gonna start with the worst Christmas song. I hate "Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer." I don't know why. It annoys the shit out of me. Again, there's no reason to it. It's just like it comes on, I'm like, ugh. It's like hearing nails on a chalkboard. And a song I really like, it is by, I think it's Bing Crosby, Winter Wonderland or something. I love the classic Christmas music that's back in the 40s and whatnot. But I'm pretty sure it's Bing Crosby, Winter Wonderland. I love Frank Sinatra's Christmas music. I want to make sure that I got that right, but I know for a fact it's Bing Crosby. But I like to sing it. I'll hum it a lot, even when it's not in the holiday season. It's something that, like, a bucket list of mine is I would love to dance to that song with somebody. My husband's not a dancer, so it's like it's kind of like you just want to waltz to it, and I like it. So yeah, that's my answer.
Dakota?
My least favorite Christmas song, and this is as a retail worker, I fucking hate Mariah Carey.
Oh, that's a
so goddamn much. I love Mariah Carey as a person, but Jesus fucking Christ, if I hear that song one more time over the loudspeaker at the store, I'm gonna commit arson. But my most favorite Christmas song is Mele Kalikimaka.
Yes, I know.
Mm-hmm. And for the same reasons that Ash likes it, it's sung in an older style. It's very slow. It's very melodic. It's not necessarily the most Christmassy song, but it just feels right to me. It feels good to listen to it.
I like that. Okay. My favorite, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Christmas music.
Yeah.
Instrumental Christmas music to me is the best. Not that I don't like people doing remakes. I know it's popular. Everybody does a remake of a Christmas song. It is what it is. I heard Gwen Stefani do a remake of a Christmas song last night. And I'm like, okay, it's not really my cup of tea, but it works. It works. And my worst, Mariah Carey. I will, and I may mention this in the Walk Racy experience, I will strangle a dolphin in the nude if I have to hear that song by her. In my former life, my former fiance loved anything Mariah Carey. And I had to, not had to, but it was requested of me to watch the movie Glitter with Mariah Carey.
God.
Yes, and for those of you out there who have never seen Glitter, the movie by Mariah Carey, just do a quick YouTube synopsis. And yeah, you want to gouge out your eyes. That movie was that bad. And CD after CD of Mariah Carey, and then that song came out. Yeah, I wanted to stab somebody in the neck with an unsharpened pencil. I cannot stand Mariah Carey Christmas music. Not the person, just the music. Goodness gracious. And finally, I'll pose this question to you guys, not to bite off of the previous show. What is a phrase that grinds your gears, that you cannot stand hearing? I'll go first. What do you guys think? To me, this has been, I think, past couple of months, I believe. The phrase that I can't stand the most, and I'm exaggerating by saying I hate and I can't stand, is the phrase, at the end of the day. You're having a conversation with somebody, and you're having a nice little debate, or you're just having conversation, and somebody busts out with, at the end of the day, I'm like, it's not the end of the day, number one. And number two, if you can't find something to substitute a word, say say do what I do. Just stutter through it. If you say at the end of the day and every single godforsaken, it makes me want to just commit mass homicide. So yes, that's a new term, at the end of the day. So I'll bounce it over to Ashley.
Off the top of my head, I don't think there's a phrase I particularly don't like. I do hate, it's ever since I kid, it's not like I hate it, but it's the word actually, because it sounds like Ashley. So someone's like, well, actually, and I'm like, I'm always going to turn oh no, that's not my name. What I really, what I hate and bugs me, drives me nuts is when people, especially people are younger than me, and I sound like an old person, but when they end everything with, ugh, that's not fair, when they do that, I hate that. Why do you need to add that to the word? That drives me nuts. It's either they're happy, they're sad. I really want this. They just have to end that with some kind of or extra words, extra sounds. That does grind my gears a little. It just makes my eye twitch, and I want to throw punch the person when they do it. What? Why? It's not fair.
That sounds like vocal fry. You ever heard of vocal fry?
Yeah.
Okay. So vocal fry is what ladies used to do a couple of years ago, because once again, men love feminine things about women, and one of the things they love is a voice. A good voice goes a long way. So I'm not too sure where it started, how it originated, but vocal fry is a woman who seemingly fries her lungs and her voice when she talks. Case in point. So when a woman talks like this and stretches out her words like that, that's called vocal fry. And it's irritating, and I'm glad nobody does it anymore. So I just had to throw that out there.
Oh my God, seriously? You're gonna talk to me like that?
Yeah, and
Valley Girl voice.
No, see, that's Valley Girl. Vocal fry is when you stretch out a word. You're like, oh my God. Oh my God. Everyone knows somebody who used to talk like that.
So that's what I hate. Is that I fucking hate that shit so bad. Yeah. That's something that definitely grinds my gears. There's no particular phrase, as I said, but going back to that, when people stretch out words in that sense, I want to throw punch them. That's a good way to get me fucking pissed off. Because at that point, I no longer want to communicate with you. It's just the conversation's over.
At the end of the day, conversation's over. And Dakota.
It only started when I came to New York that I started hearing this phrase. And it drives me up the fucking wall. It drives me up the wall. Hey, can I just touch base with you real quick? We're not playing baseball. Why? No, I don't want to touch base with you. I'll catch up with you. I'll have a conversation, but I'm not going to touch base with you. Where the fuck did that come from? What do you mean you want to touch base with me? This isn't the seventh inning stretch, motherfucker. I am irrationally angry about this statement, and it's been said to me so much that it's like the Mariah Carey song. Stop it, please.
I'm really trying so hard not to laugh over you, but I understand. I understand fully. So that's just a few things I wanted to throw out here for the group. And does anyone have anything else they would like to comment on, like to talk about before we close up shop?
Oh, yep, go ahead.
So, has anybody seen trailers for a new movie coming out called Civil War?
No.
When you get a chance after the recording or during right now, look up a trailer for the movie Civil War. It looks insane. Essentially what I got from it is that Texas and Florida have seceded from the United States, and the US government is now attacking those two states.
I can see that happening for both states, honestly, with Texas being their whole, like, yeehaw, America, all that stuff, and then Florida, Florida's basically a foreign country. When people think of the South, they don't think of Florida. They think of, like, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, but when you think Southern, like, Florida is not your first option that you think of. Logically, we are located in the South, but we are not considered Southern. Florida, we're just something. We're basically Florida. We're the Australia of America. We have a bunch of fucked up animals and insects and reptiles, and we have a lot of weird people. Like, it was 300. Like, for one, all swamplands. So you have no idea what the hell's all in our swamps. Two, I'm pretty sure that most of everything that was planted here before it was planted, it was sprinkled with crack cocaine. So that's another thing. So again, Florida becoming its own state. Actually, that was a governor trying to do that a while back. Not recently, but there was a bill to try to vote for that, to try to get Florida to be its own separate sovereign. And I can't remember who tried to do that or anything, but that was a thing at some point. I know in my lifetime, because I remember hearing about it.
That's scary. That's scary all in itself. And this is why I've been contemplating moving out of Florida. I think it's about that time.
But why?
Well, the fear of imminent doom and our own government turning on us because the governor decides to secede, and then 3 other states decide to too, so then it becomes us against them or them against us. It's, not the best, but this movie does a pretty good job of, even in the trailer, lining it out how basically it's going to go down.
Well, I'm hopping on a plane and I'm flying to Delaware. I'm just had enough.
See, Adrian's he hasn't been in Florida his entire life. I have. I'm a Floridian. This is my home base. I'm a weird person. I'm a weird dude. I know I've talked about this already, and I'm still waiting, trying to find when I can purchase tickets. But the Florida Man games,
yes,
a couple months. I can't wait for it. I'm going for sure.
I will go. I will go to that just to see the absurdity of it all before I leave Florida, before I move out of Florida. Now, Ashley, I've been in and out of Florida for the past 25 years. Every time I've left, the vortex pulled me back in. So I've seen life outside of Florida, and gosh darn it, it's actually pretty good. But I come back just for whatever reason. But I think this time, when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Well, that's what I mean, is you haven't been here. You've been in and out of Florida, okay? I have been in Florida. Florida knows me. You just can't leave Florida like that. But you abandon. You abandon Florida at any time you think it's doable.
Yes, Florida, the dangling penis of the United States. This is tremendous.
It really, we have big dick energy.
Florida is the textbook definition of built different.
Yeah, it's it's a they them. But yeah, anyhow, I digress.
But at the end of the day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, to be fair.
To be fair.
To be fair.
Yeah.
To be fair.
To be fair.
To be fair. As we close up shop here. Oh, and by the way, people, to get that reference, go on Hulu and watch Letterkenny to get that reference. Because we'll be doing a whole lot more of that as time goes on. Anyhow, so Dakota, if people want to reach out and find you, where can they go?
You can go to, give me just a second, I really should have these things written down.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to find me on YouTube, it is Coda1996, you know, if you want to watch my videos and make fun of me because of how I talk, how I look, and the things I say. And if you want to go and find me on TikTok and watch the wacky things I've done on there, it is the very same. It is at Coda, Koda1996. Don't look for my Twitter. You don't want to find it.
Sweet. And Ash Majestics, where can they find you if they want to see some of your fun stuff?
Ash Majestics, you can find me on Instagram, Discord, Twitch. That's kind of it. Just type in Ash Majestics on Google. You find me, you don't.
And of course, you can find this show, Out of Context, the Walker AC Experience, all the classic shows on wherever you find your local podcast. Do a Google search as well. Look for the Walker AC Experience. We're on 21 different platforms, soon to be on Twitch. Soon, a couple of surprises that are coming up. Just hold tight, folks. And it's the holidays. Support the experience. Go to cafepress.com/WACE. Support the experience, get some swag, whether it be t-shirts, hoodies, pillows, stationery, whatnot. Our logo is all over it. And of course, subscribe to WalkerAC76.podbean.com. That's WalkerAC76.podbean.com. We thank you so much for tuning in to the Out of Context podcast. We're going to do one more show next week. That'll be our year-end wrap-up show for the year 2023, 2024. We have some surprises in store. We're going to make you laugh. We're going to offend you as always, like we, kind of normally do. And this episode is dedicated to our friend, Big Time Bex. We miss you. We're thinking about you. We love you dearly. Ashley had to put you back in the home again because you're not acting right. So we hope this time around the camp counselors will take away all sharp objects. We'll reprogram you and get you to where you need to be. So when you come back to us, you'll be a whole new Becky. So Ashley, thank you for doing that for us.
I want to start dedicate this episode to Becky because I don't feel like some of these were topics that she would want to talk about. So I'm going to over veto that and say that fuck you, Becky. This episode's not for you.
We love how this works. So,
yeah.
So before we go, we cannot end it without the coup de grace. Our dear host here, Ashley, sending us into the pale blue yonder with her last words.
How crowded is a room full of married people?
How?
Well, it's empty because there's not a single person there.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.